Ambassador Chen Wei stared at the holographic invitation floating above her desk. The elegant script shimmered with alien characters that her translator struggled to decode properly. She rubbed her tired eyes and read the message again. The Galactic Council cordially invites the species known as humans to participate in the 847th Interdimensional Combat Championships. Please send your finest warriors to represent your civilization. Chen almost laughed. Almost. The message felt like a cosmic joke. Humanity had only joined the galactic community 18 months ago, and most alien species still treated them like curious pets. The invitation had arrived through official channels, but something about the timing felt suspicious. Her assistant, Lieutenant Torres, knocked and entered the cramped embassy office on Nexus Station. The space station served as neutral ground for diplomatic meetings between the dozens of species that made up the galactic community. "Ma'am, I've been researching this championship invitation," Torres said, setting down a tablet. "The competition happens every 50 standard years. Winners get permanent seats on the Galactic Council's inner circle." Chen picked up the tablet and scrolled through the data. The championships had existed for over 4,000 years. Species competed in teams of 12 warriors across various combat scenarios. The current inner circle consisted of 5 species: the Chronaxi with their massive size and strength, the Veltar with their lightning-fast reflexes, the Zephyrians with their advanced technology, the Thrakari with their psychic abilities, and the ancient ethereals who seemed to exist partially outside normal space-time. "Has any new species ever won?" Chen asked. "Not in recorded history," Torres replied. "Most species that join the galactic community aren't even invited for their first few hundred years. Apparently, we're getting special consideration." Chen felt a cold knot form in her stomach. Special consideration usually meant something unpleasant in galactic politics. She opened a secure channel to Earth and waited for the encryption protocols to engage. Admiral Rodriguez appeared on the screen after a few minutes. His weathered face showed concern as Chen explained the situation. "It sounds like a setup," Rodriguez said bluntly. "They want to humiliate us publicly. Show the galaxy that humans don't belong in the big leagues." "That's what I thought too," Chen agreed. "But refusing might be worse. It could be seen as cowardice or disrespect. Do we even have warriors who could compete? These aliens have been fighting for thousands of years." Chen had been thinking about that exact question. Human military forces were impressive by Earth standards, but they'd never faced anything like the galaxy's elite fighters. The few skirmishes between humans and alien pirates had been decided by superior human tactics rather than individual combat prowess. "I have an idea," she said slowly. "What if we don't send traditional soldiers?" Meanwhile, on the other side of the station, Ambassador Korthak of the Chronaxi Empire chuckled as he reviewed security footage of the human embassy. His massive frame shook with amusement, causing nearby furniture to rattle. "The little mammals actually seem to be taking the invitation seriously," he told his aide. "This will be even more entertaining than I hoped." The aide, a smaller Chronaxi warrior named Groktal, seemed less amused. "Are you certain this was wise, Ambassador? The Council of Elders specifically instructed us to avoid unnecessary provocations." Korthak waved a dismissive hand. "The humans need to learn their place in the galactic order. Better they learn through public embarrassment than through military conquest. Besides, the championships are perfectly legal. We're not breaking any treaties." "But why invite them at all? They've been ignored by previous championship organizers." "Because, my simple-minded aide, the humans have been making noise about wanting more representation in galactic affairs. This will demonstrate exactly why they don't deserve it." Korthak pulled up holographic displays showing previous championship battles. "Watch these recordings and tell me how long you think human warriors would last against a Veltar speed fighter or a Thrakari mind warrior." Groktal studied the footage reluctantly. Veltar warriors moved so fast they appeared as blurs, striking dozens of times per second. Thrakari fighters could paralyze opponents with thought alone. The Zephyrian champions fought in powered armor that could withstand planetary bombardment. Even the smallest ethereal warrior could phase through solid matter at will. "They'll be slaughtered," Groktal admitted. "Exactly. And when they are, no one will question Chronaxi wisdom when we suggest that humans stick to what they do best, growing food and making amusing entertainment programs." Back in the human embassy, Chen was making a very different kind of calculation. She'd spent the last 6 hours reviewing personnel files and making encrypted calls to Earth. Her plan was risky, potentially career-ending if it failed, but it might be humanity's only chance to avoid complete humiliation. The next morning, she sent her response to the Galactic Championship Committee. Humanity accepts the invitation to participate in the 847th Interdimensional Combat Championships. Our team will arrive within the standard preparation period. What she didn't mention in the official response was the nature of the team she was assembling. Dr. Sarah Kim, xenobiologist and former Olympic gymnast, was studying alien tissue samples in her lab when the call came. She listened to Chen's proposal with growing excitement. "You want me to fight aliens in Mortal Kombat?" she asked, making sure she understood correctly. "I want you to use your scientific knowledge of alien biology combined with your athletic abilities," Chen clarified. "You've studied every species we've encountered. You know their weaknesses better than anyone." Marcus Tank Peterson was teaching a self-defense class to embassy staff when his secure phone buzzed. The former Navy SEAL turned private security contractor had been getting bored with his current assignment. "Ma'am, with respect, these aliens are trained killers," he said after Chen explained her plan. "I'm good at what I do, but I'm not superhuman." "That's exactly why I need you," Chen replied. "You think tactically. You adapt to unexpected situations. These alien champions have been fighting the same way for centuries." Elena Vasquez was debugging code for the embassy's defensive systems when her workstation chimed with an urgent message. The former Air Force cyber warfare specialist and current systems administrator read Chen's proposal twice before responding. "You want me to hack alien technology during live combat?" "I want you to find the glitches in their supposedly perfect systems," Chen said. "Every piece of technology has vulnerabilities, even alien technology." By the end of the week, Chen had assembled her team. Alongside Kim, Peterson, and Vasquez, she'd recruited 9 other humans with unusual combinations of skills. A former circus performer who'd studied alien anatomy, a linguist who specialized in alien communication methods, a chef who understood alien biochemistry through cooking, an engineer who'd reverse-engineered captured alien devices, a musician whose understanding of sound frequencies could disrupt alien sensory systems, a marine biologist who'd studied alien aquatic species, a geologist who understood alien mineral compositions, and a mathematician who'd identified patterns in alien strategic thinking. None of them were traditional warriors in the galactic sense. All of them were experts at understanding and exploiting weaknesses in complex systems. The Chronaxi Empire's official announcement of humanity's participation sent ripples through the galactic community. Betting pools opened immediately, with odds heavily favoring human elimination in the first round. Several species registered formal complaints about allowing such an inexperienced civilization to participate. Ambassador Korthak held a press conference to address the concerns. "The Galactic Championship Committee has decided to give humanity this opportunity to demonstrate their capabilities," he said, his massive form dominating the podium. "We believe in fair play and equal opportunity for all sapient species." Behind his diplomatic words, Korthak was already planning the victory celebration. The championships would be broadcast across the galaxy, ensuring maximum exposure for humanity's inevitable defeat. What he didn't know was that Chen's team had spent their preparation time studying every piece of available footage from previous championships. They'd analyzed fighting patterns, identified technological dependencies, and developed strategies based on scientific understanding rather than brute force. Dr. Kim had mapped the pressure points and physiological vulnerabilities of every species they might face. Peterson had devised tactical approaches that exploited alien over-reliance on individual prowess. Vasquez had identified potential backdoors in alien combat technology. Most importantly, they'd learned to fight as a coordinated unit rather than as individual champions. It was an approach that no galactic species had attempted in living memory. The transport ship carrying the human team docked at Championship Station 3 days before the competition began. The massive facility had been constructed specifically for the championships, with environmental controls that could accommodate the needs of dozens of different species. As the humans disembarked, they were met by stares, snickers, and a few expressions of what might have been sympathy. None of the other teams looked worried about the human competition. That night, as Chen's team settled into their assigned quarters, she gathered them for a final briefing. "Tomorrow, we're going to shock the galaxy," she said quietly. "Not because we're stronger or faster than our opponents, but because we're going to fight smarter. We're going to show them what happens when you underestimate humanity." Outside their quarters, the championship complex hummed with activity as 30 other species prepared for battle. None of them were preparing for what the humans were about to unleash. The opening ceremonies would begin in 18 hours. The real surprise was about to begin. The championship arena materialized around them like a fever dream. The tournament organizers had outdone themselves this cycle, creating a massive multi-environment combat zone that shifted between different planetary conditions every few minutes. Desert sands gave way to Arctic ice, which transformed into dense jungle, then shifted to zero-gravity asteroid fields. Chen watched from the team preparation area as the first matches began. The Veltar team moved like liquid lightning, their elongated forms blurring between positions faster than most species could track. Against them, the Thrakari warriors stood motionless, their psychic abilities creating invisible barriers and phantom strikes that left their opponents confused and vulnerable. "Look at them," Dr. Kim whispered, studying the alien fighters through her enhanced observation equipment. "They're incredible individually, but watch their coordination patterns." She was right. Each species fought in the same formations they'd used for centuries. The Chronaxi formed walls of muscle and armor, advancing steadily while their opponents exhausted themselves. The Zephyrians fought in perfect geometric patterns, their technology compensating for any tactical creativity. Even the mysterious Ethereals followed predictable phase shift sequences. "They're fighting museum pieces," Peterson observed. "Beautiful, deadly museum pieces, but museum pieces all the same." Marcus Peterson had seen this before in human conflicts. Elite units that had become too comfortable with their superiority, too reliant on techniques that had worked for generations. They'd forgotten how to adapt when faced with completely new approaches. The first day eliminated 12 teams. The humans weren't scheduled to fight until day 2, which gave them more time to observe and analyze. What they saw confirmed their strategic assessment. Elena Vasquez had been monitoring the electromagnetic signatures of alien technologies. "Their combat systems are incredibly advanced," she reported during their evening briefing. "But they're also completely standardized. Every Zephyrian uses the same power frequency. Every Chronaxi weapon operates on identical targeting algorithms." "Standardization makes them predictable," Chen noted. "What about countermeasures?" "Working on it," Vasquez replied, her fingers dancing across her portable computing array. "Their security is impressive, but it assumes certain attack vectors. They're not prepared for human-style improvisation." Dr. Kim had spent the day collecting biological samples from the arena, skin cells, shed scales, and other trace materials left behind by the alien fighters. Her portable analyzer was providing fascinating insights. The Veltar speed comes from a specialized nervous system that operates on specific neurotransmitter cycles, she explained. If we could disrupt those cycles even briefly, their advantage disappears. The Thrakari psychic abilities require intense concentration, added Dr. Martinez, the team's linguist who'd been studying alien communication patterns. They use subsonic vocalizations to focus their mental energy. The right interference could break their concentration completely. Chen felt a surge of hope. Her unconventional team was doing exactly what she'd hoped, finding scientific solutions to combat problems. The second day arrived with great fanfare. The galactic media had hyped humanity's participation as the novelty story of the championship. Commentators from various species provided analysis that ranged from politely dismissive to openly mocking. The human team appears to be equipped with primitive scanning devices rather than proper weapons, observed commentator Velnix of the Veltar Information Network. Perhaps they plan to study their opponents to death. Ambassador Korthak watched the pre-match coverage from his luxury viewing box. Several other Inner Circle members had joined him, curious to see the human embarrassment firsthand. "I almost feel sorry for them," commented Ambassador Thilrak of the Thrakari Collective. "They look so earnest and hopeful." "Sympathy is wasted on inferior species," Korthak replied. "Today they learn why some civilizations rule while others serve." In the human preparation chamber, Chen's team was making final adjustments to their equipment. None of them carried traditional weapons. Instead, they'd assembled an array of devices that would have puzzled any conventional warrior: sonic generators, electromagnetic pulse projectors, chemical dispersal units, and portable gravity manipulators. "Remember," Chen addressed her team, "we're not trying to overpower them. We're trying to outsmart them. Every species here has weaknesses. We've identified them. Now we exploit them." Their first opponents were the Draknari, a reptilian species known for their resilience and methodical fighting style. The Draknari team entered the arena in perfect formation, their scaled armor gleaming under the artificial suns. The arena had configured itself as a rocky canyon environment with multiple levels and narrow passages, perfect terrain for ambush tactics, which played to Draknari's strengths. The human team spread out immediately, abandoning any conventional formation. To the spectators, it looked like panic. To the Draknari warriors, it looked like easy prey. What happened next stunned the galactic audience into silence. Dr. Kim had positioned herself on a high ledge, apparently trapped by advancing Draknari fighters. As they closed in, she triggered a device that released a fine mist into the air. The mist contained a compound she'd synthesized based on her analysis of Draknari biology, a pheromone that triggered their species' hibernation response. The advancing warriors suddenly found themselves overwhelmed by an irresistible urge to sleep. They fought against it valiantly, but millions of years of evolution couldn't be overcome by willpower alone. Meanwhile, Peterson had led 3 Draknari into a narrow canyon passage. Instead of engaging them directly, he triggered a series of small explosions that caused a controlled rock fall. The rocks weren't meant to harm the armored warriors. They were meant to trap them in a specific position where Vasquez could target them with an electromagnetic pulse that overloaded their armor's power systems. The remaining Draknari found themselves facing humans who seemed to appear and disappear at will, using the terrain and their opponents' own tactics against them. Dr. Chen, the team's geologist, had identified unstable rock formations that could be triggered to create temporary barriers or escape routes. Within 20 minutes, the Draknari team had been completely neutralized without a single human casualty. The arena fell silent. In the commentary booth, the alien broadcasters struggled to process what they'd witnessed. "It appears," commentator Velnix said slowly, "that the humans have achieved victory through unconventional methods." In the luxury viewing boxes, the Inner Circle members were no longer amused. Impossible, Ambassador Thilrak muttered. The Draknari have never been defeated so decisively. Korthak's massive fists clenched involuntarily. It was a fluke. The Draknari underestimated them. It won't happen again. But it did happen again. On day 3, the human team faced the Crystalline Collective, beings of living mineral who could reshape their bodies at will. The humans responded by introducing sonic frequencies that disrupted the molecular bonds in crystalline structures, causing their opponents to temporarily lose cohesion. Day 4 brought them against the swarm mind of Zeta Reticuli, a hive mind species that fought with perfect coordination. The humans used targeted electromagnetic pulses to disrupt the bioelectric fields that enabled the hive mind connection, turning their opponent's greatest strength into a weakness as individual drones struggled to function independently. With each victory, the galactic audience grew more attentive and less dismissive. Betting odds shifted dramatically. Species that had initially mocked the human team began studying their tactics with intense interest. The human approach was unlike anything seen in championship history. They didn't rely on superior strength, speed, or technology. Instead, they treated each match like a scientific problem to be solved. They studied their opponents, identified weaknesses, and exploited them with surgical precision. Dr. Kim became known as the Chemist for her ability to synthesize compounds that affected alien biology in unexpected ways. Peterson earned the nickname the Engineer for his tactical use of environmental features. Vasquez was dubbed the Ghost for her ability to make alien technology malfunction at crucial moments. By the end of the first week, only 8 teams remained in the competition. The humans had advanced further than any newly contacted species in championship history. More importantly, they'd done so without suffering a single serious injury. The galactic media could no longer ignore or dismiss them. News programs across the galaxy analyzed human tactics, trying to understand their unprecedented success. Military academies began requesting recordings of human matches for study. In the inner circle viewing box, the atmosphere had grown tense. "They're making fools of us all," snarled Ambassador Zektor of the Zephyrian hegemony. "How are they defeating species that have been perfecting warfare for millennia?" "They're not fighting," Ambassador Thilrak said thoughtfully. "They're problem-solving. It's a completely different approach." Korthak remained silent, but his mind was racing. The human victories were exposing something uncomfortable about galactic civilization. For thousands of years, the major species had grown comfortable with their established roles and methods. They'd stopped innovating, stopped adapting. The humans, crude as they were, represented something that hadn't been seen in the galaxy for centuries: genuine creativity applied to conflict resolution. That evening, Chen received an encrypted message from Earth. Admiral Rodriguez appeared on her private communicator, his expression serious. "Chen, you need to know what's happening back home. Our intelligence services are picking up chatter from across the galaxy. Some species are calling for the championships to be suspended. Others are demanding rule changes to prevent human tactics." "Are we breaking any actual rules?" Chen asked. "None that we can find, but that might not matter. There are rumors that some Inner Circle members are discussing direct intervention." Chen felt a chill. The championships had ancient protections against outside interference, but the Inner Circle had ways of bending rules when it suited them. "We knew this was risky from the beginning," she said. "But we've come too far to stop now." "Agreed. Whatever happens, humanity is watching." "You've already given us more respect than we dreamed possible." As Chen ended the call, she realized that the true test was just beginning. The remaining opponents would be the most dangerous, and the political pressure was mounting. But her team had proven something important: that human ingenuity could compete with galactic tradition. Tomorrow, they would face the Veltar speed fighters in the quarterfinals. After that, potentially, the Inner Circle species themselves. The galaxy was about to learn that being underestimated was humanity's greatest advantage. The quarterfinals brought a change in the arena that no one expected. Instead of the usual shifting environments, the championship committee had configured the space as a simple, flat circle with minimal cover. The announcement claimed it was to ensure fair competition, but Chen knew better. "They're trying to negate our environmental advantages," she told her team during their final preparation session. "No rocks to manipulate, no terrain to exploit, just us against pure Veltar speed." The Veltar team had won their previous 3 matches in under 5 minutes each. Their leader, a being called Swift Strike at Dawn, moved so fast that high-speed cameras could barely track his movements. His teammates were equally devastating, each capable of delivering hundreds of precise strikes before most opponents could react. "Their speed comes from specialized muscle fibers and enhanced nervous systems," Dr. Kim reported. "But speed requires energy, and energy requires fuel. Their metabolism operates on specific chemical compounds." "What kind of compounds?" Peterson asked. "High-energy proteins that their bodies synthesize from certain minerals. Remove those minerals from their system, and their speed advantage disappears." Vasquez looked up from her equipment arrays. "Their coordination relies on bioelectric communication between team members. It operates on frequencies similar to their nervous systems. If we could disrupt both simultaneously, we'd level the playing field," Chen finished. "What do you need?" The match began with typical Veltar tactics. They spread out around the arena perimeter, moving in complex patterns designed to confuse and disorient their opponents. To the audience, they appeared as flickering shadows that occasionally solidified long enough to strike. The human team stood in the center of the arena, apparently frozen with terror. Spectators in the audience began to murmur. After their impressive run, were the humans finally facing opponents they couldn't outsmart? Swift Strike at Dawn blurred toward Dr. Kim, his crystalline blade aimed at a non-lethal but disabling strike to her shoulder. At the last possible instant, she triggered a device that released a cloud of metallic particles into the air. The particles were designed to bind with the specific minerals that Veltar physiology required for enhanced speed. As Swift Strike inhaled them, his metabolism immediately began to falter. His next movement was noticeably slower. Simultaneously, Vasquez activated an array of broadcasting devices that filled the arena with precisely calibrated electromagnetic interference. The bioelectric communication between Veltar teammates dissolved into static. For the first time in centuries, a Veltar team found themselves fighting as individuals rather than as a coordinated unit. Peterson had positioned himself near one of the few environmental features available, a small raised platform in the center of the arena. As a Veltar warrior approached, still moving faster than human reflexes could match, Peterson triggered a gravity manipulation device that created a localized field of intense downward force. The warrior, adapted for lightning-fast movement in normal gravity, found himself suddenly weighing 3 times his normal mass. His enhanced speed became a liability, as momentum carried him into the gravity field, where he collapsed under his own weight. Dr. Martinez used her understanding of Veltar acoustic sensitivity to generate specific frequency patterns that disrupted their spatial orientation. The aliens, accustomed to processing movement and distance through subtle sound cues, found themselves disoriented and vulnerable. The match lasted 18 minutes, longer than the previous 3 Veltar victories combined. When it ended, the human team stood victorious in the center of the arena while their opponents lay stunned but unharmed around them. The galactic audience erupted in chaos. Nothing like this had ever happened in championship history. In the inner circle viewing box, Ambassador Korthak's massive frame trembled with rage. "This is unacceptable. They're making a mockery of traditions that have stood for millennia." "Perhaps," said a new voice from the shadows, "our traditions needed to be questioned." The other ambassadors turned to see Elder Zarthul, one of the ancient ethereals who rarely involved themselves in championship affairs. The being's form flickered between visible and invisible as it spoke. "The humans fight with something we have forgotten," the ethereal continued. "They fight with curiosity. They study their opponents not to defeat them, but to understand them. In understanding, they find solutions that pure strength cannot achieve." "They're primitives using tricks," Korthak protested. "This isn't honorable combat." "Honor?" Zarthul's form solidified slightly, revealing features that seemed carved from starlight. "Was it honorable when we invited them as a joke? When we expected them to be humiliated for our entertainment?" The uncomfortable silence that followed was broken by announcements for the semi-final matches. The human team would face the Thrakari collective in 2 days. After that, if they won, they would face either the defending champion Chronaxi team or the mysterious Ethereals in the finals. Chen knew that their greatest challenge was just beginning. The Thrakari didn't rely on physical speed or strength. They were pure mental warriors, capable of creating psychic constructs that could interact with the physical world. Worse, they could read surface thoughts, making tactical deception nearly impossible. "We need to think differently about this one," she told her team during their strategy session. "They'll see our plans coming before we execute them." Dr. Kim had been studying Thrakari physiology through the limited biological samples available. Their psychic abilities require intense mental focus. The brain activity is unlike anything we've seen in other species. But there's something interesting about their neural patterns. She displayed a holographic representation of Thrakari brain scans. "Look at these frequency patterns. They're remarkably regular, almost mechanical. It's as if their minds operate like organic computers." "Computers can be hacked," Vasquez observed. "Not hacked exactly," Kim replied, "but potentially overloaded. If we could introduce chaotic mental input, random thoughts and emotions, it might disrupt their ability to maintain focus." Peterson was studying tactical recordings of previous Thrakari matches. "They always start by reading their opponent's minds to identify the primary strategy. What if we gave them multiple strategies to read? Conflicting plans? Contradictory objectives?" "Mental static," Chen said, understanding immediately. "We flood their psychic perception with so much information that they can't isolate what's real." The next 2 days were spent in intensive mental conditioning. The team learned meditation techniques designed not to clear their minds, but to fill them with controlled chaos. They practiced maintaining multiple contradictory thought processes simultaneously. It was exhausting work that left them mentally drained, but Chen hoped it would be worth it. The semi-final arena configured itself as a vast, crystalline chamber that amplified psychic energy. Perfect conditions for Thrakari dominance. The alien team entered with their usual quiet confidence, their elongated forms moving with eerie synchronization. Mind Speaker Kolrath, the Thrakari leader, extended his consciousness toward the human team, preparing to read their tactical intentions. What he found instead was chaos. 12 human minds generated a cacophony of mental noise. Battle plans mixed with childhood memories, tactical formations blended with random song lyrics, strategic objectives tangled with emotional responses to completely unrelated events. For the first time in his career, Kolrath found himself unable to parse an opponent's intentions. The human thoughts were too chaotic, too contradictory to make sense of. Worse, the mental static was affecting his team's ability to maintain their psychic constructs. The energy weapons and barriers they typically manifested flickered and wavered as their concentration faltered. Dr. Kim took advantage of the confusion to deploy a new weapon: sonic generators that produced frequencies specifically designed to disrupt Thrakari neural rhythms. The sounds were inaudible to most species, but to the Thrakari they were like having someone shout random words during a complex calculation. Peterson led his teammates in a series of seemingly random movements that made no tactical sense individually, but created patterns that further overwhelmed Thrakari attempts at prediction. They moved like chaos given form. Vasquez deployed her electronic countermeasures in waves, creating electromagnetic interference that disrupted the bioelectric fields the Thrakari used to coordinate their psychic abilities. The match became a battle between order and entropy, with the humans representing a kind of controlled chaos that the Thrakari had never encountered. Their ancient discipline, honed over millennia, proved inadequate against opponents who embraced unpredictability as a weapon. When the Thrakari team finally collapsed from mental exhaustion, the arena fell silent. The humans had advanced to the championship finals using tactics that defied every convention of galactic warfare. In the viewing boxes, the inner circle sat in stunned silence. 3 of their member species had been eliminated by creatures they'd dismissed as primitives. The final match would be against the Chronaxi Empire's champion team, the same species that had orchestrated humanity's invitation as a humiliating joke. Ambassador Korthok entered the arena personally that night, his massive form dwarfing the human preparation area. Chen met him at the entrance, refusing to be intimidated by his size. "You have made a mockery of sacred traditions," Korthok rumbled. "Tomorrow, my champions will restore honor to these championships." "Your champions are welcome to try," Chen replied calmly. "But maybe you should ask yourself why your sacred traditions couldn't adapt to new thinking." Korthak's eyes blazed with fury. "Because some things should not change. The strong should rule. The weak should serve. This is the natural order." "Then prove it," Chen said. "But remember, you invited us here. You wanted to show the galaxy that humans don't belong. Tomorrow, we'll show them what happens when you underestimate people who have nothing to lose and everything to prove." The final match was set for the next day. 12 humans against 12 Chronaxi warriors. David versus Goliath on a galactic scale. But as Chen looked at her exhausted, determined team, she realized something had already changed. Win or lose, humanity had proven that intelligence could triumph over assumption, that creativity could overcome tradition. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. And tomorrow, they would discover what happened when an empire built on intimidation faced opponents who refused to be intimidated. The real championship was about to begin.